What is up, guys? The TJM here, back again, bringing you a different video for my channel. This is basically just going to be a reply video to Grim Reaper's Launchpad episode 7 on the Xbox One, which is basically him and a couple of other guys that I know talking about the Xbox One and their thoughts on it. So I just thought that I'd address some of the points which they mentioned, just give my perspective and my thoughts on that. So yeah, for those of you who have been living under a rock, the new Xbox console was revealed last week, and it's been dubbed the Xbox One. Overall, the reveal was, I think, far more successful than the Sony PlayStation 4 reveal. Mainly because with the Sony, they just decided to discuss what the console would be able to do rather than actually showing it doing anything. Whereas the Xbox came out, showed people the actual Xbox One at work and the games, and you know, basically all the new features that make people want to be going out and buying this. And obviously with E3 just around the corner, it's going to have more of a game focus. But just onto addressing some of the points which the guys did it with the Launchpad episode. They discussed the issue of used games, and with Das 1991, he actually works at EB Games, and he brought up a valuable point as far as how EB Games or GameStop, wherever you're from, that they basically run off the used game market. And with the new console coming out, they're basically going to do away with used games altogether, as far as essentially you'll buy a game, and then as the Xbox One will have to be online at least once a day to you know, verify games. To basically the Microsoft's reasoning for this is as far as piracy, in case someone steals a game or copies a game, and they're just verifying that. But that's, you know, as they mentioned in the video, basically this is, you know, just another way for Microsoft to make money. And in a way I agree with that, because Das mentioned that when you buy a game, you're buying a physical game, and then once you've done that, you should, you know, have the opportunity to do with that what you will, whether it's, you know, sell it to a friend, because, you know, awesome friends sell stuff to each other, or at the very least, you know, say you're borrowing a friend's game. But there's the thing where apparently you're going to need to buy like an online code to play a used game, or, you know, even a friend's copy, if your friend isn't logged on, signed into their Xbox account, just to use the game. Which I think is there's pros and cons about this, because obviously the negative is that you can't share games with friends, and that's, you know, obviously the main thing. I don't really have too much sympathy for the used game industry, because essentially they're making quite a ridiculous profit selling games that have already been played. It's only really, you know, worth getting used games if it's maybe, you know, 6 months to a year later, and you just, you know, you want to give one of those games a go. But yeah, Das also mentioned that EB Games, they sell games at the recommended retail price, and that JB Hi-Fi undercut them, which is why, you know, JB Hi-Fi's prices are about, you know, maybe $10 cheaper. I wouldn't go as far as he said that it was about $20 to $30 cheaper. It's not quite that much of a difference, but, you know, I can see the logic behind that, as they make money off things other than that. But yeah, the whole new used games is going to be essentially cut out, because they're going to want to make more money. And on the flip side there, I disagree with it, because, you know, again, once you buy a physical game, you've bought that game and it's your property. I think one of the other guys in the video mentioned that with, for example, Microsoft, you buy the software and that's yours, whereas with Apple, you buy a license to use the software, which would make more sense. And the only way that Xbox, I feel, would be able to justify getting people to pay for codes is that if they have probably a download games only, because if they're going to be selling a physical game disc, and then expecting people to, you know, oh, you're going to let your friend borrow this, you know, you're gonna have to get them to pay. I disagree with that, but if they have download only in the future, then I guess, you know, that's fair enough, because that's downloaded to your username / your console. But you've got to think, you know, these people are putting in time and effort, and this is their job to create games. So for those of you who complain that, say, a game doesn't get patched regularly enough, it's because they're, you know, it's not really worth their time. Whereas if people are probably paying for a game, and then even if they're sharing it, the companies are going to get money from, like, say, online codes. They're going to obviously feel the need to want to put effort into updating the game and fixing it online, as long as they're making money out of it. The consumer actually does win out in the long run in that situation. Okay, so now go and adjust this back to the new console itself, as far as not being backward compatible. A lot of people are saying that this is a big issue, as far as, like, oh, you know, I've bought hundreds of Xbox 360 games, why can't I should be able to play them on the new console? And it's kind of, why are you buying a new console and then wanting to play old games on it? Because obviously if you've got all these Xbox 360 games, you've still got your Xbox 360 console, unless you're an idiot and sell that for some reason and keep the games. But you know, if you're buying a new console for a new generation, you're going to want to be playing the new games. You don't buy it to play old games. And if you want to really play the old games that much, keep using your Xbox 360. Though, you know, you got to keep in mind that this console is about 10 years old at this point, and it's kind of reached the limit of the capabilities that, you know, as far as games can have. So it shouldn't be a surprise that the games aren't backward compatible. I believe that I had backwards compatibility with the PlayStation 2, but, you know, even having said that, they're still making PlayStation 2 games, as far as I'm aware. They're still doing that. So that console is, you know, still going. You know, I can't even, it's got to be 15, 20 years that console's been out. Back to the point of, if you're buying a new console, you're also going to be playing the new games. If you want to play the old games, keep the old console, and chances are the games that are going to, you know, that were super popular on the 360, there's potential for them to be remastered and having as downloadable games for the new console anyway. So you can basically just get around it by that sort of a thing. People are going to be complaining about, you know, the cost, and saying that, oh, you know, with the games, got to buy new games, got a new console. And also with the headset, you're going to have to buy a new headset, definitely, because again, it's a brand new console versus a 10-year-old console. The headsets are going to be connected slightly differently, at least from the pictures of the new controller. The inputs for where you'd normally put your microphone for the current Xbox 360, that has been changed. So again, you're going to have to buy a new headset for that, which I personally am a little bit, you know, upset about, because I only recently got my Astro A40s, and, you know, when I say recently, I mean the past Christmas. So I have gotten a lot of decent use out of them, but it's a little disappointing that they will not carry over. But chances are the new headsets are going to be better than the current generation ones, because again, as technology improves, so does the quality in most cases. So that's just another thing that comes with the new generation. If cost is a really big thing for you, then, you know, no one's forcing you to buy a new console, new headset, new games. Just stick with the 360. I haven't heard anything about them, you know, just completely stopping support for the 360, which I don't think will happen. It could, again, potentially go the way of the PlayStation 2 and continue on for years and years and years, as long as people are still buying it. So that's a thing. But if you're wanting to buy a new console, you shouldn't be upset when you're expected to buy new everything for it. All the people who are complaining about things being expensive are buying optional things. You don't go out and say, oh, this new 50-inch TV is too expensive, I'm, you know, going to rage about it, and then go buy it anyway. You're only going to buy something if you know, think it's worth it. So As far as cost, you know, it's gonna be a little annoying, but if you really want it, then, you know, you're gonna pay for it. And that kind of leads me to one of the other guys in the video. They mentioned PC gaming is a way that they were probably going to head to, because he brought up the issue again of cost, saying that games on Steam are a lot less expensive than, say, buying a $112, $100 game, that's Australian, or I think in America you get it for like $50 or $60 brand new, which, you know, I think is a bit of a problem for us, but, you know, factor in shipping and whatnot. But anyway, but yeah, he was saying that the games are cheaper if you just download them directly from Steam, which obviously that's, you know, a thing, versus, you know, printing out an instruction booklet, a case, shipping, making a physical disc. So he was saying that PC gaming is probably going to be the way to go with the new consoles coming out, because again, the games are going to be obviously more expensive. However, on the flip side of that, once you've done the initial payment for, you know, say $500, $600 for a new console, that's it. And you buy a game, put it in, and you can play it. Whereas with PC, there's, you know, you have to have a lot of enough knowledge to be able to Google, I suppose. But you've got to buy the parts, and a lot of games that come out, they're going to, you know, not work with all computers. So you might be spending $1,500 building your own gaming PC. But then the newest game will come out and you'll have to upgrade, say, your graphics card, for example, and that's another, you know, couple of $100 there just to play a new game, which, you know, it's kind of like the costs, I'd say, would balance each other out as far as games being cheaper, but you have to buy a more expensive computer and new parts versus buying a, you know, a pretty fair priced console for what it does, and then expensive games, and then having to pay for codes and all that stuff. Again, it comes down to cost versus the benefits, whether or not you really want something enough, you're going to pay for it. A problem that was kind of brought up, which I am in agreement with, is the video recording, because as a lot of you know, as far as PlayStation 3 videos of people playing video games on YouTube aren't too common, whereas every second video online on YouTube is on a, you know, obviously an Xbox. That's because Sony brought in a thing where they block you from recording via the HDMI, and, you know, with a new generation of consoles, that could be a potential issue for the Xbox One. I can understand why Sony did it to, you know, block people from recording Blu-ray videos, Blu-ray DVDs and whatnot. And with, you know, the Xbox One, it's going to have Blu-ray reader, so there's potential there for HDMI to be blocked. Though there is a way around it, because one of the guys on Grim Reaper's video said that he can record gameplay off his Xbox, but when he watches Netflix, it won't, because there's an impedance or something in the HDMI, which is a good thing. You know, people recording video off their Xbox, obviously pirating is a thing there. So I feel that they should be able to keep the same sort of a thing, because with YouTube, almost every second video on there is video game related. If they prevented people from uploading their videos, that's a whole market which is smashed out. So Elgato, personally I have a Blackmagic capture card, and all that stuff, they're gonna just be gone in a few years when people finally switch over to the new generation. However, I think there is going to be a thing which was mentioned in the Xbox One where they'll allow you to record it straight to the console and then upload it that way, kind of like with Black Ops, how they did. You could record and then edit and then upload, make a 10-second clip or something. So I can see them doing something similar like that and maybe capping it at about 10 minutes. Hopefully that's not going to be one of their big things on Microsoft's list, stopping people from recording and uploading video games, because again, it's free advertising for the games. The new Kinect 2.0 which is going to come with it, is going to control the Xbox to some degree, as far as voice commands and the hand gestures, which I think is pretty awesome. It looked really cool. It looked like something out of Star Trek if you go and watch the Xbox reveal. So obviously they've improved it. They've taken a lot of people's feedback in, and yeah, so I feel that the new Kinect is going to be a good thing. As far as, you know, obviously being able to Skype is another big thing, because there are a lot of people around the world who communicate with family members, friends via Skype, and with the new 1080, not sure if it's 1080, I'm on 1080p, for at least the camera, it's going to be full HD, being able to see your loved ones on like a giant computer screen. Not necessarily sure if you'd want to do that if they're, say, using like a 4 megapixel little crappy webcam and blowing that up on your like 42-inch television, but at least, you know, at least it's there. You're able to do that. So that's going to be a good thing. But again, having Microsoft, having it always on, essentially, even when you turn off your Xbox, it'll be, you know, still in standby so that the Kinect can wake it up. Gonna be a little bit off-putting as far as if, you know, say you have your, if you want to do something, there's nothing to really stop Microsoft from wanting to check in on you, but, you know, again, I don't think they're going to be needing to do that. But, yeah, my main thing that I had against the Kinect was the fact that you needed a bunch of space to actually use it, and there are a lot of people who just don't have the space to do that. So say, you know, at the moment I've actually got my computer with my Xbox next to it plugged in so I can like record things. There's nowhere near any space for me to use a Kinect in my room with the space it requires. So I'm not sure whether or not it'll be changed, how much space you'll need with a new one, but with the old one you needed a few meters, you know, left and right, and basically all around you for it to actually pick up on it. Which, you know, obviously, if you go watch the reveal and think about it, they've got a whole empty, you know, stage, which is one person, not a problem. Interesting to see how it would work in, say, for example, if you're in an apartment or something like that, where space isn't necessarily something you have an abundance of. But again, you know, if I have to move my, have the Xbox in, say, in the lounge room or something, so be it. Can't really make too many more comments on it based off the, you know, reveal. Yeah, the new controller, I reckon looks pretty awesome. It looks, you know, it's pretty much the same as the current one, but different enough to be, okay, clearly that's an Xbox One controller. I like the fact that they've gotten the home button and moved it up out of the way, because I'd be constantly hitting the Xbox button when I'm trying to, you know, hit the start button with my left thumb, because I'm special like that and that's what I need to do. Getting rid of the battery pack at the bottom is a plus. Didn't really get in the way for me, but I can see how removing that would be a good idea, but the fact that it's going to have an internal battery, it seems, somewhere, which you're going to have to charge via the Xbox, I'm guessing. Might be feedback issues if you're using a headset like the current one, but maybe, you know, hopefully they would have fixed that issue in this new generation of it. But yeah, hard to say. I like the D-pad as well. I would have liked it if they had slightly more domed thumbsticks, because I currently have a domed right thumbstick on mine, which I just whacked on there, and it works, you know, it feels a lot better. But, you know, until people, like, you know, physically have it in their hand and try it out, there's not really too much more you can say about it. The inputs on the underside of it different, so you're going to have to buy a new headset. Yeah, basically it looks pretty good, I feel. But again, going to have to wait for it to come out. And just final thoughts, in the comments below, leave what you think about it. If you've, you know, agree with some things I've said, disagree, have your point of views, feel free to let me know down below. And yeah, see you next time.